Hey guys, what's up, what's happening? You got the King of Games 98 here at your service. How you doing? Hope y'all are doing good and staying safe during these times. And, well, as you can tell by the thumbnail of this video and read by the title of this video, yes, guys, I did in fact buy a Panasonic 3DO model FZ-10 in 2022. Guys, I think there's something wrong with me. You know how people who have drinking problems are alcoholics? Well, people who have addictions to buying video games and video game consoles are Gameaholics. So that's why the subtitle of this video is going to be Gameaholics Anonymous. So, why did I buy a Panasonic 3DO model FZ-10 in 2022? Well, that is a great question. I'm so glad you asked. Because this bulky, heavy monstrosity didn't work. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is the original launch model Panasonic 3DO model FZ-1 console. So, I've never talked about buying this console before on my YouTube channel at all, let alone this FZ-10 model 3DO. So, first things first, I'm going to tell you guys the story of how I came to buy this, and then find out it doesn't work. And then that's going to lead into why I bought the FZ-10 model 3DO. So, this Panasonic 3DO model FZ-1 launch edition, I guess if you want to call it that, of this console, I found them bought at one of my local flea markets, I want to say back in either 2018 or 2019. I don't remember exactly which year it was because, you know, like I said, I never made a video about this on my YouTube channel. I didn't post anything about buying this, as a matter of fact, on my YouTube channel. Instead, what I did was I made posts about it on Twitter. But you see, if you're at all familiar with how Twitter works, then you'll know it's kind of a pain in the ass scrolling through all of the pictures you've ever posted on your Twitter account that are in posts. So in other words, what I'm getting at is, it was really hard for me to look back through all the pictures I've ever posted to Twitter that are in posts, and I posted a couple pictures of this console, and then I even uploaded a video of what it was doing and why I knew that it is broken and there's something very wrong with it. So, not 100% sure if it was 2018 or 2019, one of those years. But anyway, I found and bought this Panasonic 3DO model FZ-1 launch console at one of my local flea markets, and I paid $45 for it. Now, the guy selling it knew exactly what it was, because he was selling other retro video games and consoles. And he had this with the other video games he was selling. So he knew damn well what this was, how rare and oddball and obscure of a console it is. And I don't know if he exactly knew what this console was worth, but I think he had a pretty good idea, maybe ballpark range, what to ask for it. And I think he might have started at either $60 or $70. I don't remember exactly. But I think he ended up coming down to $50. I offered him $40 because I thought that was very fair and reasonable for what this is. He said no, he couldn't do that, it was too low. I started to walk away, and then he threw out there to me, you know, would you take it for $45? And I did, because You never see these consoles, ladies and gentlemen. You never do. You know, I live in New Jersey. So, as far as I'm concerned, at least in New Jersey, I have the only before seeing and buying this console. Prior to that, the only other times I've ever seen a Panasonic 3DO, I think, was maybe 2 or 3 times. And I think 1 or 2 of those times it was a model FZ-1 console, and then on one of the times it was actually the Gold Star brand 3DO console. Even more obscure than a Panasonic 3DO. So I'm sure you guys can kind of see where I'm going with this. In other words, I wasn't going to let this console, you know, slip through my hands, if you will, over $5. So I bought it. I paid the guy $45, and my dad was with me that day, and he looked at me like I was nuts. And, you know, why did you give him $45 for that? And, you know, I tried my best to explain to him how rare and obscure and oddball of a 90s console this is, but, you know, to him, he could care less. So, you know, it was kind of like in the one ear, out the other. But yeah, so this was the original Panasonic 3DO console I bought, and what ended up happening was when I got home to test it, the console does power on. It does power on, and where does it? It has a light somewhere on this console. I think there or something. I don't know, but it does turn on. The green light came on, and I think, yeah, there was a green power light and then a red access light, if I remember correctly. It turned on. Both lights came on. I pushed the disc tray eject button. The disc tray did eject, but okay, this is going to sound pretty crazy, but I swear to you guys, I'm not making this up. When I turned this console on, before ejecting the disc tray, it emitted a horrible screeching sounding noise through my TV's speakers. And then on top of that, it displayed no picture whatsoever. So that was how I could kind of tell, okay, this does not obviously work. This sucks. But you know what? It's a cool piece of retro gaming history. And, you know, I took a chance. And I wasn't mad at myself for that, because I still think it's very cool. And I can't really get mad at the guy who sold it to me either, because I remember I specifically asked him, do you know if it works? And he answered me like this: well, I can't see a reason why it shouldn't. So that was neither a yes or a no. So in other words, he just really didn't know if it worked or not, and he didn't want to say that, so that was what he said. So yeah, I paid $45 for this broken Panasonic 3DO model FZ-1 console, and that was when I went to Twitter and made posts about it. And then, because I didn't know how to explain the noise that was emitting from my TV speakers that it was doing, that's when I recorded a video. And long story short, I was blown away with all the people who reached out and support that I got for that. Like that really touched me here, guys. That was I was not expecting that, and to have gotten that much, you know, help and support and people reaching out to me about that really meant a lot. And bottom line is, thanks to, I'm sorry, I don't remember his name or his Twitter username either, but one guy who reached out to me, who was persistently, me and him were going back and forth having conversations about this, like back and forth, really back and forth. And that one dude kind of diagnosed what's probably wrong with this without actually seeing it, and without me even opening opening the console and taking it apart, because I haven't even done that. He thinks that it probably has leaking or bad capacitors in it, and that's why it emitted the screeching noise in my TV speakers, and that's probably also why it didn't display any picture on my TV either when I had it hooked up. So yeah, that's the story of this. For those of you who have never seen a Panasonic 3DO model FZ-1 console, what I'll do is I'll bring it real close up to my phone's camera so you guys can get some close-up shots of it. And then we're going to talk about the model FZ-10. So, oops, that's the front of it. Gotta be honest with you guys, to me, what this, the shape of this console, what it reminds me of is an old 90s era VCR. A VHS player. Instead, this is a disc tray and it ejects out and it doesn't push in like you're putting a, VHS tape in. But yep. Real 3DO interactive multiplayer. That's the controller port. Okay, then we got this side. And I have no idea what this AV expansion port is. If anyone watching this knows, please let me know. I'm just generally curious, and it's kind of been eating at me this whole time I've owned this console. Then we have another expansion port, no idea. Coaxial RF out, channel 3-4 select. Ew, I don't know why you'd want to use that. S-video out, that's pretty impressive. Red, yellow, and white RCA component outputs. And the power cord is hardwired to this console. So you cannot remove the power cord from this console. Okay, we got the other side of it. And then the bottom of it, which, let me turn this guy around here. Okay. And in case, if any of you who are watching this were wondering why it looked like I was kind of struggling to hold this thing up in front of my phone's camera, it's because it's actually a pretty heavy console. Like, this thing's got some weight to it. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, I mean that in a good way, if that makes any sense. Because I guess how I mean it is, it's not lightweight and doesn't feel cheaply made, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. So that's a good thing. I mean that in a really good way, and I sincerely do mean that in a good thing. So that is the story of how I came to buy this model FZ-1 Panasonic 3DO launch console and how it ended up not working. And as you can see, guys, I still own it. It still doesn't work. And I just kind of refused to get rid of it, because I was like, this is a cool piece of retro gaming history. I can't bring myself to get rid of this. So I kept it, and I kept it this whole time. And, I never bought or amassed any 3DO games or controllers, nothing. Just that console. Then fast forward to, might have been like the end of May this year, going into June, I went to Next Level Video Games. Shout out to Next Level Video Games, first off, in Blackwood, New Jersey. Dude, if any of you guys live in South Jersey, you gotta check out Next Level Video Games. Easily my favorite and best retro video game store in South Jersey. Anyway, so I went to Next Level Video Games a few times, and I noticed on one of the trips that in the glass display case sat a Panasonic 3DO console. And my eyes lit up, and I was like, ooh, okay, that would be cool to buy considering I own that piece of crap and it doesn't work. And that's a nicer model. It's lightweight, or well, I shouldn't say it like that. It's lighter in weight than that behemoth. It is a top-loading disc-based console, whereas the FZ-1 is a front-loader console, meaning the disc drive ejects the tray out so you can put a disc in it and then ejects it back in. whereas the FZ-10 model 3DO is a top-loading disc-based console, meaning you push a button, tray lifts up, you place a disc in. I personally, when it comes to 90s era early disc-based video game consoles, I much rather own a top-loading model of a console than a front-loader, only because, in my personal experience, front-loading early 90s era disc-based consoles, usually a lot of stuff goes wrong with them, mainly in the disk drive. You know, if it ain't the disk tray itself jamming or rubber bands breaking to, you know, spin the gears to eject it, then, you know, sometimes the actual laser in the disk drive itself goes, or the optical lens, who knows. But in my personal experience, top-loading 90s era disc-based video game consoles usually are made better, and they hold up a lot longer than front-loading consoles do, at least to me. So my eyes lit up. I was really like hype, and I was like, yo, that would be really cool to buy that. Now, Nick, the owner of Next Level Video Games, had the FZ-10 model console, both cords, an official 3DO wired controller, and three games with the console selling as his bundle for $200. Guys, I really didn't think that was a bad price for that console. All that for $200. I really didn't think that was a bad price. So I waited, because in the back of my mind, I knew that's not a very popular console, and it's not a console that everyone is going to want to buy, let alone someone's just going to walk right in and say, yeah, I want that Panasonic 3DO. So I was like, okay, I probably have some time, I can wait, you know, it should still be there. That's what I did. And it ended up paying off in my favor. So Next Level, I forget what week it was, but one week Next Level Video Games was celebrating its 15th year anniversary in business. So to promote that, excuse me, the whole store, everything in the store was 15% off. It was a store-wide sale. And I was like, well, Mom, I think I know how I'm going to take advantage of this sale. So I went there. Not only was the FZ-10 model Panasonic 3DO still there, but I bought this, a Super Nintendo arcade stick controller, an indie Dreamcast game called Breakers, which was apparently originally a Neo Geo 2D fighting game that got scrapped, and what else did I buy? I think it was just that. Was it just that? Yeah, I think, yeah, it was just those three things. So, the price, the original $200 price of this Panasonic 3DO model FZ-10 got reduced down pretty good, and with the 15% off anniversary sale discount, this console came to $170. $170 for this console, both cords, an official wired 3DO controller, and three games included with the console. Now, guys, prior to buying this, I did some homework. I looked this guy up on eBay to get a ballpark estimate of what this is selling for currently loose, and at $170, that was a steal for this console at that price. So I bought that, the Super Nintendo joystick controller, and the Breakers Dreamcast indie game, and I paid for the Breakers Dreamcast indie game with a gift card I had. So that the game was $50, the gift card was for $50, so I essentially got that for free. And then I had $40 left in store credit that I used towards this and the Super Nintendo arcade stick controller. So in total, I paid $127.49 for both the 3DO FZ-10 model console and the Super Nintendo arcade stick controller. That was not bad at all for this console and that arcade stick controller. I was ecstatic. I was loving life. I was like, man, not only did I buy a working Panasonic 3DO model FZ-10 console, but I also got this sick Super Nintendo arcade stick controller. So, guys, I just can't even begin to tell you how happy that made me. And just that I now officially own a working Panasonic 3DO console. Like, seriously, you don't even know how happy this made me. So, now I'm going to do some close-up shots of the console, because to you guys who are watching this and have maybe never even seen the different models of the 3DO consoles, you know, this would be nice to know. And then I'll do close-up shots of the controller, the 3 games included, and yeah, that's going to really do it for this video. So, okay, so we have Panasonic 3DO Interactive Multiplayer Real Model FZ-10. Gotta be honest with you guys, I really like the shape and design of this console, and I love that. I love that you literally push down on the disc cover, I guess I'm going to call that, and it pops right up, and then there's the disc drive where you place a game disc in. And that is the controller port. And we have the ready and access buttons. I believe the ready button or light is green and the access light is red, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so that is the top of it. That is the front of the console. We have the right side of the console that still has an AV expansion port, which I think pops off. Yeah, pops off there. But yeah, I still have no idea what that's for. If you're watching and you know, please let me know, because I'm very generally curious just what was it for. Okay, we have for outputs, coaxial RF out, yuck. S-video, very nice. Simple composite, red, yellow, and white AV outputs, an expansion slot that I have no idea what that does, and the power cord. And then, believe it or not, the power switch to turn the console on and off is on the left side of the console. I don't know why they put it there. It's a really odd spot for it, but it's there. So, and then got the bottom of it. October of 1995. Okay, so that's the console. We'll do some close-up shots of this official 3DO wired controller. Gotta be honest with you guys, I actually really like the 3DO's controller. At least this one that I got bundled with my console. The shape and design kind of reminds me of a Super Nintendo controller. And then the way the A, B, and C buttons are laid out, it reminds me of the A, B, C, and D buttons on a Neo Geo AES or CD controller. So, yeah, ergonomically, I love how this feels in my hands, gripping and holding it. Now you got a D-pad. Feels very good. It kind of almost reminds me, you know, dare I say, of a Nintendo D-pad on a, you know, on a Nintendo console's controller. X and P buttons, I believe Okay, so the P is playing pause, and then I guess the X is stop. I'm not really sure. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments down below. Then we got the A, B, and C buttons, L and R shoulder buttons, which are very nice and responsive. We got the back of it. And then I bet you're wondering what that port is at the top of this controller. Well, I'm so glad you asked. Because you see, if you noticed on either model Panasonic 3DO I owned, there is only one controller port on the actual console itself. So how you would play with more than one person on a Panasonic 3DO console is kind of weird, but I guess it works. So for two people to play a game on a Panasonic 3DO, you would obviously plug in the first controller to the console. Then you would take the second player's controller and plug it into the first player's controller in that port. And so basically you would be daisy chaining the two controllers together while the first player's controller is connected to the console, if that makes any sense at all. Kind of a weird way, I guess, to experience multiplayer games on a Panasonic 3DO, but I guess it works. I mean, you know, don't get me wrong, I don't think that's the greatest, best way ever to experience multiplayer gaming on a video game console, but I mean, hey, this is the Panasonic 3DO we're talking about here, and it was a very oddball console back in the 90s. So, you know what? They took some risks and did some very interesting things, and I'm gonna leave it at that. Okay, so now these are the three games that came bundled with my console. The first one is Burning Soldier. I think I've heard of this game, but I'm not really sure. And I did play it for like 10 minutes while testing out the console just to make sure it worked. And of course it does. It's fun, but I don't know. I can't really see myself like sitting down and playing that for like hours on end. I don't know. That's just me. Second game is a 2-discer, and that is Shockwave 2 Beyond the Gate. And this is a really bad 90s era FMV first-person shooter. And when I say first-person shooter, I don't even mean like Doom first-person shooter. I mean like you're flying or controlling, hovering, whatever, in a vehicle and shooting from the vehicle's perspective. It's not even like, oh, you know, Halo or Doom or Quake. No, or Duke Nukem for that matter. No. It doesn't even play like that. It plays like from the view of whatever vehicle the character is in, or controlling, I guess I should say. It's very 90s-esque. I kind of don't really like it, but I'm going to keep it anyway. And then the third and final game included with my Panasonic 3DO is Wicked 18, which, if you guys can tell, is brand new, still factory sealed from the freaking 90s. Guys, I gotta tell you, I didn't realize that till I got home and, you know, tested the console out, and I went to open this, and I was like, holy shit, this is brand new. So I couldn't bring myself, guys, to open this game, even though it's probably just a really bad golf game, and I'm not the biggest golf fan you would ever meet. So I just thought it would be cool as a piece of video game history to leave a Panasonic 3DO game brand new, factory sealed. And so, yeah, those were the three games that was included with my Panasonic 3DO model FZ-10 console. Again, at $170, that discounted price was killer to me anyway. And after looking at them up on eBay and seeing the prices, you really can't buy one of these for under $200. Like, at least $200. You might get lucky maybe one day in an auction or, you know, a bid, but the majority of the listings I saw on eBay, you could not get one under $200 loose console only like this. You know, if we're talking complete in box, oh, it's obviously going to be much more expensive than that. Now, I do want to mention this before I end this video. Originally, I had wanted to make a list of all important information about the Panasonic 3DO model FZ-10 console, because I thought it would be a nice thing to talk about, specific information about this specific model of the Panasonic 3DO. But in trying to find information for this specific model, Panasonic 3DO, I couldn't find any specific information regarding to this specific model of the Panasonic 3DO. Now, before you try to tell me, oh, the King, there's information on the 3DO, it exists, blah, 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 blah. Let me just stop you right there. The majority of the information I was finding online was regarding the Panasonic 3DO model FZ-1 console, not the FZ-10 console. And that's all well and good, but you see, for this specific video, I wanted information on the FZ-10 model Panasonic 3DO, not the FZ-1 model. So I instead decided I wouldn't talk about it because I couldn't find any important information on it, like release date, what this console retailed for, you know, this model of this console retailed for at, you know, launch, and, you know, how many units sold, stuff like that, you know, and then tech specs. I had too hard of a time trying to find information on this console. So I apologize for that, guys, because I had wanted to include that in this video, but because of how hard it was and how much I was struggling to find information, I just decided against it and that it was probably better off not. So that's why I chose not to include it. So that is going to be how I came to buy and own a Panasonic 3DO model FZ-10 console in 2022. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I really do appreciate it because I really enjoy doing these videos, and clearly from the past two videos I did, which was buying a Neo Geo AES console in 2021? Yeah, in 2021, and then buying a Philips CDI in 2022, considering how well they went over, you guys like these types of videos. I like making and talking about these types of videos, so it seemed like a win-win. So thank you so much for watching. I really, really do appreciate it, guys. Please let me know down below in the comments section, did you own a Panasonic 3DO back in the 90s? If so, which model did you prefer? And when I say that, I mean FZ-1 or FZ-10 specifically. And on top of that, let me know some games that I should look out for to buy. You know, off the top of my head, I know Samurai Showdown on the 3DO is supposedly really good. And I also know Gex is supposed to be really good on this too, although then again, Gex was also on the PlayStation 1 and Sega Saturn, so I don't know. But regardless, feel free to recommend some games that I should be, you know, be on the lookout for to pick up. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys, and take care.